This, not necessarily, we don't need necessarily video stream this, guys, but first of all, welcome into O'Neill's Grill for our weekly fan and press luncheon. I'll do another introduction when we do get to the streaming portion when Coach Houston is here. A couple of game notes and things just for the folks here at O'Neill's Grill. Brian Shore received a helmet sticker, I do understand, by ESPN for his exploits on Saturday, going 30 for 37, 371 yards, 5 touchdown performance in the 55-22 win over New Hampshire. He tied his own school record with 5 touchdown tosses, but became just the first JMU quarterback to do that twice in a single game. He also had 5 in the Dukes win against Rhode Island. He shares that single game record with Michael Birdsong and Vad Lee. JMU recorded 6 touchdown passes in the game. That is actually a school record. The 6th one came from Redshirt Davis to Brandon Ravenel on the little pitch and a touchdown toss by Redshirt, who told us after the game that if he were a couple inches taller, he'd be the starting quarterback for the Dukes. Let's see, first time 3 players with that with 6 touchdown tosses. It was also the first time in the program's history to have 3 individuals with 2 touchdown catches in a single game. Brandon Ravenel had 8 catches for 155 yards, the most since Rakheed McCarter had 8 for 168. That came against VMI in 2009. Another note defensively, we talk a lot about the offense, but defensively, New Hampshire against Lehigh the previous week had racked up 637 yards of total offense. Saturday, they yielded only 268, and 89 of that came on that meaningless final drive in the 4th quarter. Okay, we do have Coach Houston here, so if we're ready to go live, we'll do so. And welcome in, everyone, to O'Neill's Grill for our weekly fan and press luncheon. We do have all 3 coaches here with us today. We'll start with Mike Houston, and we'll follow up with Sean O'Regan, who came up with a win last night at Rutgers, and then Lewis Rowe. We haven't had Coach Rowe here for a couple of weeks as the Dukes were on the road last week. A couple of things, a little deep background on Sam Houston State, then we'll turn it over to Coach Houston. Sam Houston State, named after Sam Houston, who was actually Virginian born. He was born down in Rockbridge County, about 55 miles from here in Rockbridge County. Sam Houston State is the 3rd oldest public institution in the state of Texas. It's located about 50 miles north of Houston in Huntsville, Texas. That's on your way from Houston to Dallas. And the enrollment there is about 2,107, so just a little bit below what it is at James Madison. Sam Houston is 12-0, beating Chattanooga in last weekend's action 41-36. They lead the nation at 53 points per game. And the Dukes would have played Sam Houston with a win last year against Colgate. Coverage is on ESPN2. Of course, you also have the JMU Sprint Broadcast Network, WSVA AM 550, also 92.1 FM, WSVA Online, the Tuned In app, and Matazone Free Audio. Now, we're not sure, I don't know, I did ask Coach Houston this in a text, and I don't know if he's had a chance to do any other research. We don't know if he carries any Sam Houston DNA with him. However, I do know that there were some Houstons that lived in eastern Tennessee, not too far from Franklin, North Carolina, where he's from, because Sam stopped there for a brief time before he started joining some Indian tribes for a while there. So that's a little bit of Sam Houston history there. So let's hope that the Dukes can make history of Sam Houston. Let's bring in the regional coach of the year, who was announced today, Mike Houston.
Thanks a lot, and thanks for being back out this week at O'Neill's. Mo and her crowd, thanks a lot for hosting us once again. Exciting to be here. Exciting this time of the year. Anytime we can make it last one more week. Certainly proud of the way the team came out and played Saturday against New Hampshire. It was a great matchup between 2 really good CAA teams, and I thought that our players had 2 weeks of great preparation for that game. Certainly they were very ready to play and went out and executed at a very high level. I thought, in all three phases, maybe as good a game as we played all year, because I thought that there was not a letdown in any phase. So defensively, maybe our best game of the year, considering the quality of the opponent we were facing. I think special teams wise, obviously a huge day there with the punt return by Redshirt Davis, the great performance by our kickoff coverage, really solid performance there with our punting group there, and then obviously Brandon Ravenel with the 86-yard touchdown return on the kickoff. Really, I thought was a kind of the final swing in momentum in the ball game our way. New Hampshire had scored to bring the score back a little bit closer there right after the half, and then Brandon returns the kick for a touchdown, which I thought really put the momentum firmly in our direction for the rest of the game. So great performance there on special teams. And for anybody that missed it, Brian Shore's just fine. He's going to start at quarterback this week for us, and obviously he showed very little rust from a few weeks off last Saturday, having a career day. I forget 30 of 39 or something like that for 371 and 5 touchdowns. So certainly a huge day for Brian. The offensive line and receivers had a lot to do with that. I thought that our offense played at a very high level and in a big stage too, which I think is significant. So great win for our program, able to make it on to the quarterfinals of the NCAA playoffs. Excited to welcome in Sam Houston State this Friday night. It'll be a great atmosphere in Bridgeforth Stadium. I expect it to be packed. It'll be cold. It'll be dark. It'll be perfect. It's December and it's playoff time, so it'll be a great setting for a mid-December playoff game between two quality teams. Sam Houston State, as Kurt noted, is undefeated currently, the top scoring offense in the nation. And when you look at their film, they reflect exactly what you think you would see. They're loaded with athletes. In all three phases, really show no weaknesses. Their quarterback is one touchdown pass away from the all-time record of any quarterback in Division I history. He's sitting there with 57 touchdowns right now and about 4,500 yards passing. Not very often you see a team that has three receivers that have right at 1,000 yards or over 1,000 yards receiving on the year and 10-plus touchdowns each on the year, and all three of them are dynamic, and all three of them will be a number one receiver on most teams. So very talented team, big challenge for our program, but one that our players are very, very excited about. We were able to get a little bit of a quicker start than usual with practicing on Monday, basically treating it as Tuesday, getting ready for Friday night, and we had a very focused, upbeat, up-tempo practice yesterday, and I'm sure we'll have the same thing this afternoon and in some weather conditions that should prepare us well for Friday night. So all that being said, any questions about the New Hampshire game or the upcoming opponent, Sam Houston State?
Greg Medea, DNR. How do you prepare for their tempo? Obviously, they're going to want to get up on the line of scrimmage and snap the ball quickly, play after play. How do you prepare your defense for that?
Well, we've had some experience preparing for teams like that in the past, and so the big thing is you just got to make sure that everybody's on the same page communication-wise defensively. We've been able to shorten some of our calls and stuff and prep for that. So I think our kids will handle it just fine.
Coach Dave Thomas from JMU Sprint Broadcast Network, ESPN Harrisonburg. How similar, really, looking at the two offenses, you guys can go fast too.
Right.
Are there a lot of similarities that maybe your defense is going to be accustomed to already?
I think there's some similarities. They're a big run-pass option team, do a great job with that. I think our team does, some similar things there. Schematically, yeah, there are some similarities, but it's just the big thing it's hard to prepare for is just, and yeah, we've got great speed at the wideout too, but, we don't get to go against our offense all the time this time of the year. It's just, we're going against each other a little bit this week just to help with our secondary, because you're going to see three receivers that have, down the field dynamic speed. You're going to see a huge offensive line, and you're going to see a quarterback that has a very quick release and a very strong arm. So, it's one of those things that you can try to prepare and you can try to emulate, but the biggest thing is, we just got to be ready to go when the game kicks off Friday night, and I'm sure our guys will lock in pretty quick and adjust.
Tommy Keeler, Northern Virginia Daily. What are some of the biggest strengths you kind of see with their quarterback, Briscoe, and that kind of stand out about him?
Well, he's got great size. He's a big guy. Again, like I said just a second ago, he has a very quick release. He has very good accuracy, and he has a very, very strong arm. I mean, the ball gets there in a hurry. So you get a guy like that that's surrounded with the weapons that they have, and that's why they put up, almost arcade-like numbers. It's just, they got guys that can beat you down the field. They got guys that, can make make the tough catch, and you got a quarterback that can really put the ball, anywhere he wants to pretty quickly. It's really going to challenge us.
David de Guzman, WHSV in Harrisonburg. How do you prepare a team mentally for cold weather football, and is this where those early morning practices in the spring that was in the cold weather pay off?
Right. I think our team's prepared for that. We practiced all last spring at 5:30 in the morning, and we talked about preparing for this kind of deal right here, exactly what we're getting ready to get into. And we've had some cold days out there, this fall, especially recently on the practice field. So our players, it's not going to bother them. They'll be just fine. So hopefully we can use that to our advantage somehow.
Coach, so much is made about your offense, but your defense has gotten progressively better every week. And some would say even in a quiet way, maybe even outside the Nova game. Just talk about their progression that has led them to just be consistent now week after week after week.
Well, the big thing is we look like what, when we started this whole thing back in January, we're starting to look like what we wanted to look like on defense. I think the kids are playing with a lot of confidence right now. They're playing very, very aggressive. They play extremely hard. They play with great intensity. They run to the football. They're, for the most part, on the same page all the time. And those are all the things that we're missing, back when we talked in the spring. So I think it's a thing where they've all bought into Coach Trott and the other defensive coaches. They've bought into our philosophy and our mindset of how you play defensive football. So I would expect to see us continue to improve every day that we're together. So, and I think that especially over the last month, you can look statistically, they've played at a very high level. So very proud of that bunch and very pleased with the way they're playing right now.
How important is your depth at cornerback this week? And do you have to rotate more guys in and out of the game because of how much they'll use offensively and how many snaps they'll take offensively?
Well, we're going to be tested. So, I think that we've got a lot of guys that can go out there and play at a high level. And we're going to play a lot of guys. So, against a team like this, you gotta adapt, what you're doing to combat, what they do. So I think that Coach Trott's got a good plan. I think our guys will be ready to play.
Piggybacking off of Dave's question, with special teams, how do you describe the progress made there in terms of, we've seen this team give up a touchdown off a kickoff return to what we saw on Saturday? Right.
Well, it's something with special teams where we've put a huge focus, and it's something that we've done, throughout my entire career that, we have, Sundays are really committed to fundamentals, and we spend a lot of practice time on Sundays just working on fundamentals within the kicking game, whether it's blocking fundamentals on the return teams or, getting off of blocks on the coverage teams or placement of the ball with the punt team, whatever. We have a whole deal that we work every Sunday night that really works on those fundamental things. And that way, when you're working the scheme within the week, hopefully what happens over the year is that you continue to progress and improve fundamentally, and then your scheme, of course, is more effective because you're becoming, a better player there. So time investment, commitment by the kids, and having guys that can run has led to, something that I think we were pretty good at the end of the year, that I think that it's a significant factor in helping us win now is, we're solid on all teams.
Obviously, a lot of attention on their offense, but can you talk a little bit about their defense and just some things there kind of stand out to you at all?
Well, I think that they're probably, underappreciated. You look at their front seven, or especially their front six in the box. They're big, strong athletes. The two defensive ends are long. The two interior guys are big, wide bodies. The linebackers play downhill. They're big guys. They have guys in the secondary that can run or athletic. And you look at them, and there's not a guy that you say, that's a guy we can go at. There's not one there. So I think as talented as their offense is, I think their defense is equally as talented and will be a great challenge for us. So, we've got to be probably as good offensively with our execution this Saturday as we've been.
Coach, one of the things you said you wanted this team to be from day one was more physical.
Right.
And in listening to opposing coaches, especially in conference play, that's one of the first things they point to is how physical your team is. I know it's hard to gauge looking at a film, but with the conference or the opponent record being as lopsided for Sam Houston State. How physical are they accustomed to playing as far as their opposition?
I don't know. You'd have to ask, Coach Keeler about that. But I know that we're going to be physical Saturday. I think it's a key for us. That's the way we got to play. That's our team's identity, and that's what we wanted to create when we got here. And I firmly believe you get in these ball games, middle of December, cold weather, a lot of stakes on the line. If you have a team that has that kind of identity, you got a shot. So I expect our guys to go out and play with a lot of heart and intensity Friday night, and I expect us to be a very physical ball game.
You had a redshirt freshman at right tackle for most of the game Saturday against New Hampshire.
Yeah.
How would you evaluate how Tyree did and just in his real first significant amount of snaps?
I thought he did pretty good. Tyree, the one thing about him is he's extremely athletic, and he's very talented. And the only thing he lacks on is experience. He's going to be a great player for us. And so we've got confidence in him. He's been fortunate enough to play a good many snaps this year. So, with Mitchell still a little limited, this past Saturday, we were able to get Tyree in there, and I thought he played at a high level, and our offense didn't miss a beat.
Just solely from a big picture program perspective, how big of an opportunity is this on Friday night to showcase what JMU football is all about on a national stage, on a nationally televised game?
Well, I think that the big thing is this is where we want to be. We want to be playing in these ball games, and it was a goal that we talked about the day I was hired, that we wanted to be a national contender year in, year out. So if you have a program like that, then you're going to have these opportunities. I think it's a great opportunity for the Harrisonburg community to showcase itself. I mean, we've got an opportunity to show just how enthusiastic the support around here is for JMU football. I expect the students to be out in force on Saturday night or on Friday night, and I expect our alums and fans, probably a lot of them, to call in sick about 12 o'clock on Friday to make sure they make kickoff at 7. So it should be a great night.
Can you talk a little about the running backs, the running game? What do you kind of see from the running game?
Well, I think they have two big backs. Starting out the year, 34 was their primary guy. 6, Avery has kind of become that guy as the years went on. Both of them have similar stats. Big, strong, athletic players. I think their running game really is a complement to their passing game. Whereas we're a team that maybe runs the ball effectively to set up our passing game. I think they throw the ball effectively to set up their run game, and they really do a great job of putting you in conflict, with coverage versus being gap sound in the run game, which is what the run-pass option stuff is all about. They try to create a situation where no matter what you do, you're wrong, and that certainly takes a special quarterback to recognize and be able to execute that scheme, but they've got one. So I think their running game is very effective. It'll have to be something that we'll have to put a focus on stopping, but really it'll be in complement with their passing game. So the more effective we are against one, we'll be more effective against the other.
I think one of the successes this year is the creativity of Donnie Kirkpatrick. Of course, the pass from Redshirt to Brandon the other night caught a lot of people off guard. I don't expect a specific answer. How big a bag of tricks does he have to play with on Friday night?
He's got so many plays that he's repped stuff all year that we hadn't even run yet. So Donnie's done a great job. Again, we go back to when I hired him. I've known Donnie for a long time. I could not have more confidence in him as our offensive coordinator. I think not only does he do a good job of calling a game, I think he does a good job of managing coaches and players, and he's just really done an outstanding job this year.
Coach, a couple of other quick things.
Sure.
Very rarely do you see your long snapper recover a fumble. That was a pretty critical play in the ball game.
Right.
Brett Siegel going down, recovering the ball.
No doubt.
Can you just speak to that play and how significant it may have been?
Well, I think, a couple of things in that play. I think Brett's done a great job in coverage all year. We joke with him that, he's not allowed to break down on anybody to try to make a tackle because he'll miss it. He just needs to run as hard as he can and hopes he hits them. So, but he's a great kid. He's worked very hard to become I was disappointed that, when we did the all-conference stuff that there wasn't a spot for a long snapper because I think he is the best in this conference because of his snaps, number one, but number two, he is a factor in coverage because he does run pretty well. But on that particular play, Rashard Davis, who last week was his first week on our punt coverage team, with DeAndre and his ability as a punt returner, we wanted to get an extra gunner on the field. So we had Rashard. We had 3 gunners on the field. Rashard was bearing down on DeAndre, and you could see him on film kind of glance at him real quick, took his eye off the ball. Ball's on the ground. Redshirt takes him out, and then Brett's right there to recover the ball. So I think it's a great play to highlight a kid that's done a great job all year long. Most of the time, the only time you notice the long snappers when he has a bad snap, but certainly that was an opportunity to notice and give him credit for a job well done all year.
I have not heard anybody ask this, but I've had a lot of fans ask about one of the seemingly turning points of the game was one that the officials had control over when they asked the band to stop playing. Nobody asked you, I don't think, in the post game, but a lot of people are curious as to what your impression was at that particular juncture of the ball game.
That's the loudest I've heard Bridgeforth Stadium since I got here. So on the field, it was almost deafening. So I think that shows the capacity our fans have. And certainly I think that our defensive players out there, we had a big third down coming up. And I think our defensive players really fed off of that. We got a big stop right there, forced a punt. Our offense got the ball back. So I think certainly that was a big point in the ball game and a point where our fan base was a factor in the outcome.
Any other questions from the local media as Coach needs to get back to work and getting prepared for Sam Houston?
Okay, real quick before I take off, I don't know where Sean is. He's somewhere in here. Congratulations to Sean and Precious last night on 46 points and a big win in double overtime against Rutgers. Good job. Look forward to seeing you on Friday night. Go Dukes.